I'm really excited about this morning because we have not just one, but two amazing guests. And the first one is Andrea Weckerly. I'm going to ask her to come up. Come on. And she's going to sit next to me here. Andrea, I've known her, gosh, how long has it been now? Like since 2007 or 8, when the internet was young and free. And she and I were both bloggers, and we started to talk back then. Even back then, she was very interested in the idea of online harassment and sort of the things that kind of went around that. She has since started a nonprofit called Civilination, and Civilination is dedicated to ending online harassment, and she's done some amazing work around that. Her background, she has a law degree, and she also has a conflict resolution degree. And she's written a book, and we're going to give away one of her books later today. So make sure you put your card in. Rebecca, could you put your hand in the air? So if you want one of her books and also a chance to win one of John's books, this is like a big double book day. So make sure you put your card in today. And she's just, she's done a lot of work around this and spoken all over the world about this subject. And today is a really kind of special day, because she is, and the organization, and in full disclosure, I'm on the board of directors of that organization, is releasing some new research called the Civilination Harassment Barometer. And the Civilination Harassment Barometer is going to be national US research that's put out every month about the incidence of harassment that people report online and how common it is. Much more common than you might think. And so without further ado, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, Andrea, about the new barometer. And if you have your phone with you, you can get a copy of the new research, and you can be the first ones. And we're going to be putting this out to the media and everywhere else later today. You can text barometer, that's easy, right, to 44222, and you will get a message that says, give me your email address. And once you give us the email address, it will send you the barometer to your email address. Right, just like that. So it's 44222, and then just in the text part say barometer, nothing else, and it'll send you a little message, and just answer that, and you'll get the barometer. So that being said, welcome, Andrea. Could you talk a little bit about this, your organization, and kind of tell us, before I get into the actual results of the survey, a little bit about Civilination and sort of why you have a passion for ending online harassment? Hold it close. You gotta eat it. You gotta eat them. Yeah. Can everybody hear me? Okay, great.
No, they can't. You have to really hold it close.
How's this? Yes. Oh, there we go. Yes, exactly. Okay. So the web has been in existence for close to 30 years now. Hold it closer. The web has been in existence for nearly 30 years now. And one of the things that we focused on a lot is the technological aspects of the web. How do we communicate, creating social media platforms, things of that nature. But what we haven't really focused on sufficiently is the culture that we want the internet to be. And that is really a foundation that we need to look at. That's really where we need to focus the next 25 years, 50 years, next 100 years. What kind of online culture do we want to have? Because if you look around every day, we can see the best of humanity online, and you can also see the worst of humanity online. Civilination is trying to change that, and we are trying to create an online culture. And one of our programs is Radical Civility, and Radical Civility is trying to create the online culture where everybody has a voice, not just those people we agree with. Because what we found that is, if we sit there and we browbeat people and we harass them, and we do this all in the guise of freedom of speech, we take away somebody else's voice by harassing them. And that's really what we're concerned about here. We want to make sure that we honor freedom of speech, not just in the United States, but globally as well, so that we don't browbeat people, we don't put them in fear of harassment or attacks or lies. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of where Civilination is coming from. We do focus on the 18 and above population. There are other groups that focus on children and youth, but we focus on the adult population. And we've been in existence for several years now. As Cami mentioned, we're very lucky to have her on the board of directors. You can check out who else is on the board of directors if you go to our website, civilination.org. But the reason I'm here today is because we have launched the Civilination Harassment Barometer.
and this is going to be a year-long survey. Right now, during the past 4 weeks, which was February and part of March, we surveyed a total of 1,900 people. And again, we will continue this research. And we have a couple of really interesting findings that this past month has revealed.
Yeah.
So, and you gotta hold it like this close. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know it's like not fun. So yeah, basically, I wanted you to talk a little bit about the findings because we just got them basically in the last week. We've been crunching the data. Very fun stuff, by the way, a spreadsheet hell. But anyway, we've been crunching the data. And what was the most surprising finding that you saw there?
So I've been doing this for several years, but even I was surprised by this one particular element. 40% of the people surveyed said that they can. 40% of people who have been harassed, who answered the survey, said that they can identify their harasser. 40%, so they know who's been harassing them.
So it's not just. It's not. So
it's not just people that are strangers that just kind of pop up out of nowhere. Like we think of that on Twitter, right? That people that are strangers, they just pop up out of nowhere. They start calling you death threats and things. But you're saying that 40% of the attackers, of the people who are victimized, know their attacker.
Yes, they can identify who that individual is,
and
or individuals. Well, it's a variety of people, but again, 25% of that are friends or former friends, and that's pretty shocking. So it's not necessarily strangers out there. 25% of these people, of the 40% who responded affirmatively to that question, they say it's a friend or former friend, and my guess is it's more a former friend than an actual friend, or it's soon to be no longer friend. But again, that means these are people that we know and that at some point we were close to in some capacity or another.
Yeah, another finding that I thought was really interesting was the next one we have here, which is how many people, like how prevalent is this problem, like overall? So could you tell us a little bit about how likely it is that you're going to be harassed or see some kind of harassment online? Actually, I'd like to do a little like straw poll. Can we do that? So if this is the question we asked, how many of you have either been harassed online or seen someone else harassed online? Could you raise your hand, please? Just look around you. Keep your hands up, please. So, I mean, I know you guys don't see it out in the internet world, but almost everyone raised their hands. I mean, there's a few that didn't, but in this room, of course, we're skewing towards, we're online a little bit more than the average, right? Because we're here at the social media breakfast, right? So let's be clear about that. But this is a general population survey, right? Can you? I mean, or did you just survey people that were on the internet all the time, or how did you find those people?
No, these are not just internet happy people or people such as us who live and breathe social media. This is, as Kemi was saying, these are people from the general population. And the findings showed that, again, we had a show of hands here, but the findings in our report show that 1 in 3 people have either been personally harassed or witnessed harassment. And what this means is that for those naysayers, occasionally you hear people saying, well, it's not that bad online. This really is something that rarely happens. You just hear the bad stories being reported in the media. Well, 1 in 3 isn't just an outlier. This is a huge, huge, huge number. And as I've often said when I talk on behalf of Sibylla Nation, we have an epidemic of bad behavior online. This isn't just something really, really rare or something that people should get over. It's really, really serious. And that goes to my point that I was making earlier. We really need to focus on about what kind of culture we want to have online going forward.
Yeah.
And I mean, so the types of harassment that are happening, we asked them those questions, and there's one that's major. You might also want to turn to the page where you see which ones there are in general. But there's bad behavior and then there's bad behavior, right? So there's worse behavior. So what is the thing that most people, first of all, what is the behavior that the harassment that most people receive? And then kind of talk about the more dangerous behaviors that are going on as well.
Not surprisingly, the type of harassment that we see online the most is name calling. Okay, and you can imagine, I mean, name calling, you'll be online, you'll say something and somebody disagrees with you, or they just have a beef with you, and they're going to call you a bunch of names, some of which I'm most certainly not going to repeat here because we've all seen them, but they can be vile and really ugly. So that is 34%, and that applies equally, the 34% applies equally to men and women, which is also very interesting. So it's a complete equal breakdown by genders. But what our research findings also showed that 20% of respondents, again, out of the 1,900, 20% replied that they had seen a different type of online harassment, and 12.9% of those have seen somebody or themselves been physically threatened online.
And
So
kind of read some of the physical threats, if you will. I can do it if you want.
okay, yeah, please.
Yeah, I can grab it. So
Some of the physical threats I thought were really wild. Someone being physically threatened was 12%, almost 13. Someone's personal information being published online is something called doxing. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. That's where doxing is, where somebody finds out where you live, or hey, they're your friend and former friends, they know where you live, and they might put that all out on the internet in a very, like, put it on Reddit and say, hey, go attack this person. They also do things like swatting and other things like that. And swatting is where they actually call in a police report and they send them to your house. So all of a sudden the police will just show up at your house, and it actually is pretty common. You hear about it online quite a bit. And then someone being encouraged to hurt themselves or commit suicide, that was almost 12% said that they've seen that happen or it's happened to them. And then having online harassment transfer to offline, that was a little bit less at 10%, but still 10% really that there's that harassment that is going to transfer to offline. So if somebody shows up after you have a fight on Facebook and, you know, you have a little bit of a tussle. And that makes sense now if you think about it. If people know you, they know where you live, they know where you work, they know all those things. So having friends or family members threatened, I actually had people who left the internet because their family and friends were threatened. That was 9.3%, and then death threats, which were 8.3%. So even though these are at the bottom of the behaviors, still 10 and 8% is something that I think is really crazy. So tell us, like, what's next? You're going to be going up to South by Southwest today to talk about this and other things. Could you talk a little bit about the panel you're going to be on? I think it's Why Hate Thrives Online tomorrow morning.
So at 9:30 to 10:30 tomorrow, I'm going to be on the panel that Cami just mentioned with a bunch of other illustrious women who are talking about research-based findings and also their experiences with this type of online harassment. That's right. So if you happen to be going to South by Southwest, please stop by. It is part of the Online Harassment Summit, and it is going to be an all-day event. So it's really something that is going to be groundbreaking in the sense that South by Southwest has never devoted this much time and effort to it. We have been told that they hope that this is going to be a yearly event, but this is the very first year that this is being offered. So it's a huge deal. And you can actually follow along at Sevilla Nation on Twitter. Sevilla Nation is the name of the organization. Please tweet to Andrea and kind of ask her questions if you have any. Again, if you guys want the research study, you can text to 44222, text barometer to 44222. And you'll get it like immediately today, like right now. And I think that's it. So thank you so much for taking a few minutes to kind of share the new survey with us here today. And while you're on your way up to South by Southwest, I appreciate it. Yeah, give her a hand, guys. Thanks. And I'm going to have John come up, and while he's coming up, so John, come on up. While he's coming up, I would be remiss if I didn't say that ABX, which is the Advertising Benchmark Index, they're the ones who have donated the research to Sevilla Nation. So they are running this survey free of charge to Sevilla Nation every month. So this is a huge, huge donation for that organization. So I just want to say that publicly, give them some credit. So thank you very much. And now we have John Sparks. I'm so excited. I've been so excited about this, having you come here and talk to us. John came 6 months ago now. He just said, was it 6 or you said half a year? 6 or 7 months ago. He's from Dallas, and he just showed up one morning at Social Media Breakfast. And I'm like,
yeah, you can't go to the one in Dallas. There's one there, right? And he's like, no, I want to come to you guys. And he liked us so much. He said, yeah, I'll come back and talk to you guys a little bit about Twitter. And he knows a lot about Twitter, and he's done some really great work there. But one of the things that I think is interesting is his journey from a journalist to Twitter. And so I'd like to just talk to you a little bit about your background, sort of why you're here. And as I said to Andrea, hold it real close. And tell us a little bit about, and he's, a journalist, so he won't have any trouble with that. Tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you came to social media from a journalism background.
Howdy, Houston. How are you?
Howdy.
It's not loud enough in here.
Wake up. Howdy.
Okay, so we'll get to the question in just the answer to the question in just a second. Can we get a picture of the audience in this room, the live stream, Rebecca? Is that possible, so that people that are on Google I want people at home to be able to see how many people are actually here at Canopy today. This is amazing.
Hi, guys. Yeah,
And so people that are joining on Google don't always get to see how big the restaurant is or what it looks like. So this is what Canopy looks like, guys, at home. So enjoy the view.
So she can reset it. Oh, excellent.
And so it's a pleasure to be here. Everybody excited? It's rodeo season, right?
Yay! Rodeo.
Anybody been to the rodeo yet? Who's been to the rodeo? Raise your hand.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Who's going to see Darius Rucker tonight? Anyone? Yeah, you're going. Is Darius in the room? Where's Hootie? Hootie and the goldfish? Hootie and the blowfish. Blowfish, not goldfish. So happy to be here in Houston. And so, started in television news and actually worked here in Houston and wrote the news for Bill Balleza and Dominique Sachse back in the 90s. And actually started my career working as a writer in Dallas part-time, and then went to Harlingen, and then here to Houston, and then Oklahoma and Florida, and then kind of got tired of all the negativity that I was writing about. So I was a newscast producer. I wrote what the people actually talk about on TV or say on TV, and decide the order of the content that the stories go into. And went into public relations for a while, tried that out, and then went into banking and got my MBA. And then while I was doing that, someone said, "Have you ever thought about teaching?" And I hadn't thought about teaching. I got bit by the teaching bug and moved back to Dallas, got my teaching certification, taught for a couple years, and then got burnt out with that and decided, you know what? I want to combine media, teaching, education, public relations, and my business background all together. And so here we are.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about my background. And so
so that's great. I mean, so you basically kind of went after the dream, so to speak. And by the way, because I don't have the thing up today, I'm going to let you know his Twitter handle is I am John Sparks, spelled just the way you think it would be spelled. So go for that. No John, Jon, regular John. So he's awesome. But anyway, so when did you start finding the power of Twitter? Let's start with Twitter, because it kind of is the place, I think, that you found yourself. And I think a lot of journalists do, because a lot of journalists are on Twitter. So you may have had people, so kind of explain why Twitter, not why not Facebook or Snapchat, like Rebecca was doing this morning. Why not that?
Well, actually, this is going to surprise some folks. I didn't start on Twitter. I actually started on LinkedIn. And so,
The gateway drug.
yes, exactly. And so I don't know if anyone has looked at the LinkedIn user agreement recently, but on the LinkedIn user agreement at the top, it specifically states that this is a legally binding agreement. And if you scroll down to number 8 on the LinkedIn user agreement, and we're talking about harassment earlier, it specifically states that you are not supposed to connect with people you do not know on LinkedIn. So where do you go to connect with those people? That was the big question. And so, exactly, Twitter is a great place where you can follow people and they can follow you back or decide to follow you back. Hence, that's why a lot of celebrities and news personalities go to Twitter. And so I was cruising through LinkedIn and saw my precious friend, Kim Garst. Anybody know Kim Garst in the room? Okay, so top power influencer on social media, top 100 social media power influencer. And she and several other people identified themselves as a Forbes top 100 social media power influencer. And I said, you know what, that would be a nice title to have. How do you become that? And so I started looking around on all the social media sites, and where Sparks was good on LinkedIn, they had thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter, and Sparks had less than 800. And I knew that if I wanted to be that, then I needed to step up my Twitter game. And so started writing out some goals on note cards, and here we are. Yeah.
So I like what you just said about goals on note cards. So you didn't just jump in and like start tweeting away, right? You had some goals, you had some ideas about what you were trying to do. I'd like you to talk a little bit, since we're talking a little bit about personal use of social media right now, how you also connected that to your business. So can you talk a little bit about that goal part of it? Because I think the goal part is maybe sometimes where people don't do that. They're like, let's try this out, see how it works. Not really sure why I'm using this tool. So can you kind of give us some of your why?
Sure. So attitude and persistence are key, I think, in any social media strategy. So let me say that again. Attitude, and persistence, okay? And so sticking with it. And so, yeah, writing out my goals and not just putting them on note cards, but going one step further, Tammy, and putting in those note cards in a plastic bag and carrying them around everywhere that I go. And looking and reviewing those periodically, and am I on course with what my goals are? And so I'm a strong believer in relationships, that life is about relationships. And if it's not, it darn well should be. And so people reach out to people who reach out. And so reaching out to other people on Twitter and going out and following people and not just thanking them for the follow, but asking them questions. You have to ask them questions. Yeah, not the same question over and over again, because then they're going to think you're a spammer, okay? But ask people questions and get to know them, you know? So don't just thank people for the follow back, but thank you for the follow back at so-and-so, and then ask a question so that you try and engage.
Yeah, and engagement, it kind of is easy when you're, just getting 3 or 4 followers a day, because otherwise you're just saying thank you, thank you, thank you. So how do you handle that? Because I mean, at this point, you have a lot of followers. You can tell us how many today, because I think they go up every week. So tell us how many followers you have on Twitter right now, and sort of how do you keep it real with those people? Because I'm sure a lot of them don't talk back, and everybody has their own reasons for being on Twitter. So can you explain a little bit about how you do that and still provide value for everyone?
Sharing. So no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And so how many of you hugged somebody in the room today when you walked in? Okay, all the people that did not raise their hand, make sure your assignment before you leave here today is to hug at least 2 or 3 people before you walk out of this restaurant. Now, normally during my speaking engagements, what I do is I have the group stand up and take 30 seconds, move to a different place or location, and hug 3 people. But I think if we did that today, Canopy would kind of be, I don't know if that would work. So we won't do that today, but I got sidetracked. So I don't remember how many followers I have. I don't know. It's close to 300,000. Anybody know? I don't know. But, look, again, it's about relationships and reaching out to folks and just letting them know how much you care. That's what it's about.
And, you know, I will say, because, and the reason why John is sitting here today is because I actually have experienced his caring. How many here have had John reach out to you in one way or another specifically? Coming into this, definitely Rebecca did. Yeah, okay. So there's quite a few people in the room. So he will really reach out to you and talk to you, and you don't have to have 1 million followers to get him to do so, right? So how do you decide who you're going to talk to, and it just is everybody, or sort of how do you triage that with, I'm sure, many, many followers coming on every day?
Who asks questions? Who is interested in retweeting, and who is out there engaging other people? Who is just putting interesting content out there. I mean, I follow a lot of individuals for I follow a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons. And so I just enjoy connecting. I'm a people person. So I just enjoy that.
And some people aren't people persons. I just thought about it, you know, like my son, you know, every time you go to try to hug him, he's like, yeah, Mom, and he turns around and he has me hug him from the back. He doesn't really want to hug. I don't know. He's an interesting kid. But my point is that, you know, it's going to look different for different people, right? So I do want you to talk a little bit how you're connecting this with your business too, because I mean, part of it's personal relationships, but then how does that convert? Because we have this big thing on here, relationships that convert. So what is it about these relationships that is actually, you know, what's the engine behind your business? And are you making a living at this? I mean, and how are you making a living at this? And, you know, that kind of thing. So could you talk a little bit about that business aspect?
Absolutely. Okay, so the main Twitter handle for the personal account is @IamJohnSparks. But again, what a lot of people don't know is the business Twitter handle is Online Image Works @OIW Media. And so growing the personal brand and then converting them over once they know, like, and trust you as a person to the business brand. And so I use a tool called Manage Flitter, and it's spelled MANAGEFLITTER. And what you can do is you can set up different filters on Manage Flitter so you can see who is following your personal brand, but is not following your business brand. And so I go on to Manage Flitter and I follow from my business account, maybe 300 to 400 people every single day. And then I give them 7 days to follow me back. And if they don't, then I flush them. I get rid of them. And so Manage Flitter is a great prospecting tool for business to go out there. And I talk about that in my book, 365 Ideas. And there's another tool, Tweepy, as well, where you can go out and you can follow individuals and give them a certain amount of time to follow you back. And then if they don't follow you back, then flush them. And so, yes, I mean, I am doing quite well. So how it monetizes, it's not always green like we think it's going to turn into cash. It comes in different forms and fashions. So being a brand ambassador for brands that recognize you have a large following and want to tap into that. So different companies. And so when I look at Social Rank, socialrank.com is a great tool to use to actually see who your followers are. So who your best followers are, who your most valuable followers are, who your most engaged followers are. And you can also filter those out by cities as well. And it will put them in a top 10, top 20 list, and you can tell who those individuals are, not just tell who they are, but you can see how to connect with them on all their social media sites. And so looking through that list, how many of them are brands, and then reaching out to those folks, because again, people reach out to people who reach out, and so there's opportunities in that.
So in your business, can you tell us a little bit about that business side, what you do? Are you like, you're a consultant, but kind of what does that mean? Like everybody's a consultant, right? So what kind of consulting are you doing? And sort of how does that fit in with the social media? How do you use your social media to bolster that consulting?
So I do social media coaching for celebrities, media personalities, small business owners, average individuals that are just looking to go big and grow big on social media. So whatever the goals might be, doctors, practitioners, And so that's what I do. And so I don't do the social media management piece of it. I empower people to do it themselves. And so how can you do Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and Snapchat or whatever the platform might be in an hour or less a day? Because why it's important to be online, where your highest conversion rate is going to be, is where? Come on, guys, where's it going to be? Where's your highest conversion rate going to be? Not online, but offline. And so in addition to that, if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm an educator, I'm a teacher. I like to ask questions and give tests and quizzes. And so I'm an adjunct professor. I teach courses in online journalism and media writing at the University of North Texas in Denton. So
you can teach us how to write too. Yeah, so that's the other part. So your coaching can kind of be that too with your clients. So you find the areas, and so I want to like relate this back to individuals in the room, because obviously not everybody's been a broadcaster and has your background, but how do you find that sweet spot where what is it that you can offer, right? And also if you're a company or a business, what is it that a company or business, not just individuals, right? So company or businesses can also offer value to the people that follow them. So can you talk a little bit about that adding value part? I know sharing is part of that, but finding that sweet spot for people. Since you are a coach, how do you find that sweet spot for your clients?
So going back to what we were talking about earlier in the sharing, adding the words at the beginning of a tweet, simple as please retweet, and spell out the words please retweet, because studies actually show when you write the words please, P-L-E-A-S-E-R-E-T-W-E-E-T, yeah, that's how you spell it, not P-L-Z-R-T or any other form or fashion, then you're asking people to do it, then you're putting a call to action in your tweet. So loading your tweets or your posts and taking the word I out of your tweets as well is very important.
Very interesting.
Because it's not about us, it's about everyone else. And so when you look at social media from a flip perspective, that it's not about you, it's about how many other people you can help, then people are going to flock to you, and they're going to flock to you in droves. They just are. And so that's a great way to build relationships and community, and then eventually they convert. And so you go back later in the course of the day and you see who's liked that post on Facebook and who shared that post, and then how many people go in to see who shared a post and then like all the people's posts that have shared your post, or send a tweet out later in the course of the day and thank all the people that have retweeted or liked a certain tweet and make reference to that tweet. And when you do that, then you'll find other people will try and look for that tweet and also try and retweet that. And then you go back and you thank those folks. And so it's this continuous cycle of thanking people and helping people and asking them questions and building relationships, and then doing that, converting and making money.
And that is the virtuous cycle.
That's the fun.
That is the virtuous cycle in the funnel. And so, yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And part of what I kind of wanted to get back to, you talked about tips to build community on social media in less than an hour a day. I kind of like that idea. So can you talk to us a little bit about that hour a day thing that you kind of preach? Talk to us about that.
So waking up in the morning and scheduling your tweets. And so because I'm a journalist and come from the journalism background, I schedule my tweets the day that they go out. And one of the things that separates, I think, myself from some of the competitors is I'm not afraid to take risks and break the cycle. And so if I've got tweets scheduled, but someone unfortunately passes away, then I'll come up with a graphic on Pixlr and RIP graphic and send it out, and it will get retweeted like crazy. And so, you know, just having a schedule and sticking to it. And so waking up at 5:30 in the morning and religiously scheduling for 30 minutes before I get dressed and start my day, all of the social media sites. And then I do more talking about it than actually doing it. And so going out, and then I do my speaking engagements, and in between I'll send some tweets out here and there. And then at the end of the day is when I do all my account maintenance. So the flushing and the thanking and the new following happens in the evening, and I spend probably about an hour if even that, using managed Flitter, if not doing the account maintenance part of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what tools are you using? I mean, Managed Flitter is on there, obviously, but what tools are you using for your scheduling? I mean, what right now is kind of hot for you as far as the tools to keep you moving along quickly with Twitter and other things? And you're also to broaden this a bit, because I know you're not just doing Twitter, right? Are you also sharing in other channels? I mean, you're pretty active on Facebook, frankly. I mean, you and I talk there a lot. So kind of tell me about sort of the tools you're using.
So yeah, so I branded myself, and you can use, and I talk about this in my book, Namecheck, NAMECHK.com. It's a great tool that you can use that will help you save time for you and your business. And you can type in whatever domain you're looking for, as a .com or on any of the social media sites, and it will tell you where it's available or where it's not available, right? So yeah, you can find me at I Am John Sparks on Twitter, or I Am John Sparks on Facebook, or I Am John Sparks on LinkedIn, or any of the social media platforms. And so why that's important is, so when you meet somebody for breakfast and you're meeting them here at Canopy, you didn't carry your business cards with you, and they ask, well, where can they find you at? Then they remember, because people will not work hard to find you in 2016. They just won't. And so you don't want, when someone asks you where they can find you at, well, you can find me at I Am John Sparks 07301973 on Twitter, or Facebook.com/I Am John Sparks 2927. Who remembers that? Come on, please. So having something that's memorable that people can easily think of when they don't have your business card, so they can find you, because it's about visibility.
Yeah.
And that's interesting too, because you know, we don't want to make people work too hard. It's again that servant leadership thing that you talk about a lot. So that idea of, you know, serving people in every way, including having them make it easy for them to get what they need from you. So
You asked about the tools, and I'm sorry, I forgot to mention.
You said Namecheck.
Yeah, Namecheck is one tool. And so for managing the Twitter account, so I talked about Managed Flitter, and I talked about, Managed Flitter is the account maintenance, the flushing, and the following. And so you can do that very quickly, especially if you have an Apple Mac. And there's some great entertainment on there as well. There's this terrific finger yoga lady. You've got to watch her. She's terrific. Finger yoga. Yeah, so while you're clicking and following, she teaches you how to do finger yoga.
Oh, that's cute.
I'm not lying, it's true. And they call her the hashtag honey. So check out the hashtag honey. But the other tools that I use, so Clout is what I use for my scheduling tools. So I don't use Hootsuite and I don't use Buffer. I use Clout. And so Clout, when it started, was a tool that people used to get them their social media score. So on a scale of 0 to 100, what is your measurement? How do you rank in as far as a social media influencer, right? And then they would send you free perks in the mail, and I haven't gotten any recently. So Cloud, if you're watching, send me some more perks. And so they kind of evolved, as a lot of social media tools have. And so now they're a great content aggregator in addition to that. And then you can schedule your tweets on it. And so they're an analytical tool, and they will actually look at your following and tell you the best times based on your following, when to send out tweets, and you can see it all graphed out on Cloud. It will show you when your audience is going to be there. So they do it for Twitter, and they also do it for Facebook. I don't recommend sharing through Cloud on Facebook because of the way that Facebook's algorithm is set up, but it's okay to schedule tweets, I would say, on Cloud. And so also it's great for graphics as well. And so some of the other social media sharing sites that you might be familiar with, when you post a graphic or you try to share a graphic, and so social media is very visual. And so I come up with my own graphics. I make my own graphics in less than 5 minutes using Pixlr, Pixlr.com, which is like the free version of Photoshop. I also talk about that in the book. And so what's wonderful about Pixlr is, while Photoshop, you can only do it on the desktop, Pixlr, you can do it on iOS and also Android. And it's also got a tablet app as well, so you can do it on a desktop or when you're on the go. And so using Pixlr and coming up with graphics and then sharing the graphics and then doing that on Cloud scheduling, they actually show up in your photo and video stream on Twitter. where some of the other scheduling tools assign a link to it, and then people have to click on the link. And as we know, some people don't want to click on links.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and I think the Pablo tool too is really working well for that with Buffer. Buffer has the Pablo tool now that's similar. So that's great. But I like that Pixlr, you say you can do it on the run, you can do it on mobile. Because I think that's the other part of this is that, as social media managers and practitioners in the room, I'm sure, how many of you are ever posting mobilely? Let me see. Raise your hand if you post on the run. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, that becomes kind of important that you have those tools to be able to do that right as you go. Talk a little bit about the fact that you do create your own stuff for all of your, not all of your tweets, but you do, for many of your tweets, you make your own graphics. Could you kind of explain that a little bit and why? I mean, do you do it when you're sharing a link of a post, or do you let that just pull in like it would? Just talk a little bit about when you decide to use a graphic.
So, in doing my research on Twitter and seeing what is trending, what I've noticed is that a lot of times what happens to be trending is, well, of course, what people are talking about, the news items, but also what is today. And so I use a tool called the National Day Calendar, nationaldaycalendar.com, and plan out in advance by looking at National Day Calendar what days are coming up in advance. And so you can look at National Day Calendar. It would also give you the hashtag that you can use in your tweets for that particular day. And so planning in advance for that and batching my graphics. And so creating the graphics in a batch process where I sit down once a week and all I do are just graphics, and create what these are going to look like. And so coming up with a graphic for National Ice Cream Day or International Women's Day was this past week, or what's next week. So looking at National Day Calendar to keep
Spring
up
break.
with. Yes, spring break, absolutely. So what's coming up next?
I only know that because I'm going on vacation on Sunday.
Depending on where you live, right?
Right. Well, actually, this year in Texas, apparently this is the big spring break week. So coming up, most kids are going out next week. So spring break is a good opportunity. That's great. So kind of seeing what's coming up next. And do you, bring it into you can also peg it with your own business, right? Like put your own angle on National Ice Cream Day. Downtown Galveston is one of our clients, so we'll do something like, here's our, one of our ice cream stores, and we'll take a picture there and say, wouldn't you like to have this on National Ice Cream Day? Or, I'm craving the salted caramel ice cream. Ooh, that sounds good to me right now. So anyway, yeah, that's the kind of thing. And also, kind of explain to us a little bit too about this idea, and I'm going to go back to your relationships talk a little bit. You told me about stalking with excellence, and just because we just talked about harassment, I want to understand exactly how you stalk people and make sure you're doing the right thing.
In a good way.
In a good way.
Don't get me in trouble, Tammy. Strategically stalking with excellence in a good way. Okay, so using tools like Social Rank, and then there's another tool that I like to use called TweetChup, TweetChup. Anybody in the room ever use TweetChup? TweetChup, like ketchup. Yeah, like ketchup, but TweetChup. So using TweetChup and typing in someone's username and finding out, TweetChup gives you great analytics. So what hashtags are people using? It will tell you what hashtags they use most. You could type their Twitter handle and TweetChup, and it will tell you things like who their most influential followers are and all sorts of cool analytical tools. And then so with that information, after you've done your research, then going out and using those hashtags and starting conversations with those individuals. Or another way that you can do it is, so a lot of celebrities and media personalities don't follow people back, unfortunately. And so how do you get someone to follow you back? Well, you look at who they're following, and you don't start at the top of the list. You scroll down to the bottom of the list, and you don't look at the verified users. Those are the people with the blue check marks. You look at the people that are not verified users. And who are those folks? And then you start following those people, and then you tweet them after you follow them, you tweet them, thank you for the follow back at so-and-so, thank you for the follow back. Make sure you ask a question, okay, because you're trying to engage with them and start a relationship with them to lead you back to this other individual. And so you've got your first level connection, which is the person you're strategically stalking with excellence in a good way. And then you've got your second level, like all the LinkedIn people will understand this. The second level connections are the people that will lead you back to this person. And then your third level connection. So if you're trying to start a conversation and that person is not talking, well, then you go look at who is following that person. And so it becomes, or who that person, is following. And you go to the bottom of that list and who those people are. And then you try and start conversations with them.
That's a great tip also for people that are trying to get the attention of journalists, I think. Don't you agree? I mean, that you can kind of find out who their sources are and start to talk to those people and kind of work up from there. Because often when you just directly try to grab somebody, they may just, I don't know you from Adam. Especially on Twitter, it can be a little bit, I don't know, there's a lot going on there sometimes, and it can even get missed, from time to time. So I would say, yeah, that's a great tip. One thing, I'm going to give you a power social media breakfast tip. And John is actually using this tip. So, look at the SMBHOU tag, our hashtag for here, right? SMBHOU, click on it, look through it and follow everybody who uses it that's legitimate. Do you know what I'm saying? Everybody who uses this legitimate. I mean, if it's like those terrorists that kind of spammed us a couple of weeks ago, I suggest you don't follow them. But beyond that, look for the legitimate people. And at least here in Houston, you can get a really good connection with people that are here. And that hashtag goes beyond Houston to Dallas and other places like that. So yeah, that's a power tip, is find out what your community is using for a hashtag and then follow those people and talk to those people, right? Yeah?
Absolutely. And don't force hashtags. Don't be a hash hole.
That was a soundbite. That was an amazing soundbite. And on that hash hole, I have a point, and that is, does anybody have any questions for John? You don't get to talk to somebody often.
This is about you today.
Yes, let's talk about you. I want to know more about.
And I want a selfie with everyone that's here before.
He wants a selfie because it's all about you.
Y'all can come up here and we can take a picture together. I mean it.
No, we'll do that. We'll do a giant selfie.
Yeah.
We'll get somebody with a really long arm. Okay, so what was it, Ellen DeGeneres? Does anybody have a selfie stick? So yeah, we need Eric Tung and his selfie stick. Where are you, Eric, when I need you? Okay, so that being said, do you have questions about how to gain your own following? Yeah.
So now a number of different social media portals, right? From LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, blah, 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 right? If you have a small business, let's say, that's starting and looking to leverage social media for publicity, PR recognition, and then also to potentially be a avenue by which they can
to build your business, yeah.
business, either contact customers or help their customers reach other people or what have you. Really, where is the best way to start? Just because I heard that for a lot of people that have been using Facebook, when they changed the rules, it made it much more challenging for posts to get out, like they reduced dramatically, and so is Twitter now the best way or has the most potential for really reaching users? And what do you recommend for someone who's starting out in a small business?
So I'm going to repeat the question for the people that are out in the Twitter land, or in the internet audience, also Twitter, hopefully, and Google, the Google Plus Hangout audience. So she asked a really kind of poignant question, which is, oh my goodness, we're drowning in like platforms. Okay, there's like every kind of platform possible. Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, YouTube, Instagram. Let's just keep going. So the question really is, how does a business choose the right platform to do their marketing on and connect with their audience? And how do, like, in face of things like Facebook that are requiring all paid kind of things. And there's a lot of people that do that well, by the way, paid kind of interaction. Kim Garst is a good example of that. So how do you find the right place for your business? What do you tell your clients?
So it depends what their strategy is and what their end game is. And so finding out what that is first and finding out what the need is, and then based on the need, then determining what platform would be best. However, I also think that it is important to be on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, those three specifically. And so just generally speaking, I don't think that those three can be ignored.
And let's talk a little bit about what the differences are, though, and why that's important. So LinkedIn.
Professional network.
So kind of go through those.
Real quick.
Okay, so LinkedIn, your professional network, but again, going back to the LinkedIn service agreement, it specifically states that you're not supposed to connect with people you don't know. So you're not going to go there and send a whole bunch of LinkedIn connection requests out to people that you don't know necessarily, right? And so Facebook has done a great job of branding themselves as the Friends Network. And as we know, people like to do business with people they know, like, and trust. But on Facebook, you have to friend someone and they have to friend you back in order to private message them.
What about pages? What about business pages?
Well, yes, so there's pages, but Facebook's algorithm, they're moving to a pay per play model, and a lot of small businesses don't have the money to invest in Facebook ads. So what do you do and where do you go? Twitter.
And Twitter can be kind of what you make of it too, because you can look and follow the people that are like your customer. You can look for your customer and follow your avatar, if you will, or a persona of your customer there. Is that true? I mean, is that how you do that? You were talking a little bit about searching on different tools. Can you explain that part?
Sure, and also wanted to say one more thing about the business accounts. So where you're going to see the most traction is on your personal accounts. And so friending people on your personal Facebook page, and so they know, like, and trust you as a person first, and then bring them over to the Facebook business page. You know, it's people first and product second. I just happen to be in the social media space, but you know, I could be selling rocks or dirt or gravel or
Blenders.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't matter. If I have the relationship and people know, like, and trust me, then they're going to go out and they're going to purchase whatever it is. But we have to have that relationship, and how they get to know us first is as individuals. People don't want to go out and follow business Twitter accounts with logos on them. They're apprehensive to do so. Why? Because they think they're going to be sold to, and people don't want to be sold to in 2016. They just don't. And so you get to know, like, and trust them on your personal pages, and then convert them over to the business pages.
I get a lot of people that say at Cami Chat with at Zoetica Media. I mean, you know, they'll put my Twitter handles together. I mean, and it's a smaller group of people, but it's an important group of people, right? What's another question we have? Yeah. Okay, so the new timeline and sort of how it puts up these important tweets up, and these 2015 tweets, they're probably pinned tweets that people keep liking and stuff. Yeah, the live feed. What about this elimination of the live feed? What do you feel about that? What's going to happen?
So let me share a secret with you, okay? And I'll talk about this in my book. So you see that, that's the feed of all the people that you're actually following. I don't pay attention to what the people I'm following are talking about on Twitter. So pressing home and looking at all the people that I'm following, people that are mentioning my tweets, I look at those, the interactions, and then I also use Twitter list. So that's noise to me. I don't really pay attention to that.
So tell
I use hashtags to search. Well, then, so after it looks at top tweets, so you got to switch over to all tweets, so you see everyone's tweets, not just the top tweeters, but everybody in the room that's tweeting out.
Go ahead.
You mentioned Twitter. Sorry. You mentioned Twitter list. You know your rules acronym. I would not want to find myself in someone's list called target clients.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So the naming of your lists, kind of explain, like, both private, public lists and sort of the naming of lists and why it's important?
So most of my lists, most all of my lists, I make private lists and I lock them. And so the reason why is so when I add someone, they don't know what list that they've been added on. They don't receive a notification or interaction. So I've got a lot of different lists going on, and I don't add more than 6 or 7 people to each list. So that way I can keep things compartmentalized. So again, I've got a lot of different lists.
Yeah. And do you visit them all? Like, I mean, do you just go to the list thing and just kind of run down them and visit them like that? Is that sort of your habit? Can you talk a little bit about your habit in using lists? Because it sounds like you're using it on native Twitter, right?
So most of what I do, yes, is on twitter.com. And so I do spend a lot of time on lists, just researching and investigating, and again, strategically stalking people with excellence in a good way. And, you know, figuring out if I need to create a new list or what people are talking about. And so it helps me remember names. When you have as many followers, you know, you forget people's names from time to time, but you remember that they were at Social Media Breakfast Houston on March 2016. And so you create a list with all the people that are at Social Media Breakfast today. And so you can find those people very easily if you need to.
That's really interesting. And they dropped the maximum number of lists, or there's a huge number now that they're allowed. What's the maximum number of lists you can have? Do you know? You may know that.
I don't know.
Do you know, Madeline, what that is? It's like 500, or it's like 500 lists or something. It used to be you could only have 20 lists in the olden days. So you don't have that problem anymore. So you can have lists with 4 people on it. I think that's a really good point you're making. And also you can have strategic lists. Like I have my engaging people list, and those are people who engage with me. I put them on a list. And that's sort of my way of thinking. And then I work on connecting with them that way. So that's another way to use a list, a public list, and not call them targets. That's really a good point there. Any other questions up here? Yes. What makes a follower valuable? Like, how can you be a valuable follower of, like, say somebody you're trying to get John Sparks' attention with 300,000. He's easy to get his attention, but let's just say we're trying to get his attention and he's kind of busy. How do you, when you look at people, how do you say that's a valuable person? I want to connect with them. You talked a little bit about this earlier, but what are you looking for?
So people that reach out to other people, and people that share other people's posts and stuff. And so people that come across that it's not about them, that it's about others and helping other individuals out. So servant leaders, you know, so in order to be a good leader, you got to be a good follower first. And so going out there and starting conversations with individuals and looking at different ways that you can help out.
Ooh, I just had a good idea. So let's have a homework assignment, because you're a teacher, right? So there's a homework assignment right now that on the social media, the SMBHOU hashtag, since we can't hug people, go out and interact with 3 people on the Social Media Breakfast Houston hashtag, not just saying, hey, but something substantial. Go into their feed, look at it and say, hey, wow, I see what you're doing with this. That's really interesting. Or I like your bio, or whatever it is. And then we'll have, do you think that's a good idea for our homework assignment today? Good, okay, good.
Make someone feel welcome, special, and appreciated. That's what it's about.
Right.
You know, how do you do that?
So any other questions? Yes.
Hi, I work specifically in law firm marketing, and so we do social media work with personal and like law firm social media accounts. One of our issues is really establishing trust, because when we post things, I think people think it's self-serving. Like if we post something about the Takata air bag recall, people might think, well, they just want to sue Takata. So what would be, any suggestions to help us overcome that?
So, and you work for like an agency, or, okay, what's the name of your agency?
I work for Stacey.
Oh, you work for Stacey, okay. So she works for Stacey, and they really specialize in social media for legal and lawyers. And her question is, and I'm sure there's other industries like that, that people don't trust you so much. They're like, oh, the ambulance chasers are after us. Why are they tweeting us? What's about that? So especially if it's like, that kind of thing. And Travis is in the back, so he can talk to you a little bit about having a really cool blog and kind of doing it that way, which is really pulling, the law blog is pulling, his personal feelings and opinions and thoughts into like a really interesting space. So how do you gain people's trust when maybe they kind of don't trust you? I don't know, that's kind of, you've always been trusted, but what do you think?
So you do that through the personal accounts, and you let the main Twitter account for the law firm be your business account. And so you remember, I don't know if anyone has ever heard this before, going back to old Sunday school days, like here's the church, here's the steeple, open the door, and here's all the people type thing. And so all the people are the representatives, they're the spokes for this hub, which is the law firm. And so putting the emphasis on the individual Twitter accounts and building the relationships. So if they know, like, and trust these individuals who work for the firm, then they're gonna know, like, and trust the firm. And so using a tool like Managed Flitter, once they form those relationships on a personal Twitter account, to bring them over to the firm's page.
And I know that's not easy because getting lawyers to tweet and stuff, that's hard, but we're too busy. But it is kind of important. I mean, you can look at Dell's strategy like that. They had Lionel at Dell when he was there, and at Dell, the at Dell thing. And Laura, she works for Dell. She is a friend. We're personal friends on Facebook through like these kinds of things. And yesterday I took a picture of my desktop, and it had my Dell computer and my Dell screen, and my Dell computer was here, and then my yoga. She didn't say anything about that, but she saw it, and immediately she goes, "Oh, is that the XPS 12? My daughter has that one." She worked for Dell. She noticed immediately that I had a Dell on my desk, and so it was personal. I was like, "Oh yeah," and we talked, and it gives you a warm, fuzzy feeling because they're from Dell, yeah. And you're thinking, oh, that's a good person. She cared. She didn't try to sell me a Dell. She just she noticed what I had there. So I thought that kind of a personal connection, I think, is important. I could probably have one more question. Yes.
I had
Lewis.
a good fortune to sit next to John when he was here.
Hello, Lewis.
Lewis, yeah.
It's good to see you.
I thought I knew a lot about Twitter, and he'd written a book about Twitter. I looked it up, I don't have something today. 365 ideas to go from good to great on Twitter. I thought I knew a lot about it, and I thought you're like every other day. I was learning something from his book. If you want to know something about Twitter, go buy his book.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about his book in about 2 seconds here. So thank you for that plug. But yes, so John has written a book, and I want to say it right. 365. Yeah, let's grab it. I want a visual. I need a visual. Here we go. And he has this visual, like when he sent me his picture, his face was with his book. 365 ideas to go from good to great on Twitter. And I have to tell you, I read this about a year ago myself, 6 months ago, whenever you came. I bought it as well and read the whole thing. And it actually is cool. It's like these little almost tweets of information that can kind of get you on board with a lot of the tools he talked about today. A lot of them are in this book. Most of them are in this book, if not all. And we are going to give one of these away today. So make sure that you get your card and the purple thing. But he also has about 15 copies. I think they're $20 each. You can buy one from him today. He'll sign it, so you'll have a signed copy, which is always cool, from the author. And I'm also going to give this is already signed. See, I can't do it, guys. I'm so uncoordinated. There we go. So it's a signed copy, and I really do think it's that good of a book. So it's really interesting and easy to read. It's an easy read, which is kind of nice. So what we're going to do is give this book away. And then if you don't get the book, please do just buy the book, okay? Let's not let him leave here without buying all his books, because I did not pay him to come here. He drove all the way from Dallas. Let's at least pay for his gas by buying some books. All right, that would be so awesome. And you guys would make me happy because I don't charge, and there's a good reason for that, but I feel bad about him driving down here without me paying for anything. So if you could do that today for me and him, and also you'll get an amazing amount of stuff on it. And I'm also going to give away one of Andrea's books. I don't have one physically with me, but whoever wins, I'll get your address and I will send it to you via Amazon, I have, Prime, so you'll get it in a day or two.
Can we take a selfie of everybody?
And a big selfie. So those of you that can
Up
stay,
here,
yeah.
Like, can y'all come up here and take a selfie?
Andrea's book is, oh gosh, I should know because I technically edit it, but I always,
Or a picture.
Civility in the Digital Age, How to Triumph Against Bullies, Trolls, and a bunch of other bad people. Haters and jerks. Oh yeah, the word jerks is in the title too. It's perfect. Haters and jerks. And if somebody can find that on these two books on Amazon and just tweet them out real quick, that would be nice too. Whoever has the ability to do that easily. Okay, so that being said, I want to go ahead and do the drawing, but first I want to say goodbye to our online audience, and then I'm going to go over the jobs that are available if anybody has one to share. Does anybody have any jobs